What up, folks? What it do? Welcome to another episode of the Best Advice Ever podcast. Yes, with your boy, Mike Goodwin. But I have a guest. First time ever. No guest. Never had a guest before. So we have, drum roll. Our guest is my firstborn, in whom I'm well pleased. This is the one and only. This is the beginning, not the end. This is young Essie Mae Pearl out here on these podcast streets. Give it up for my daughter, Gabrielle Gabby Goodwin.
Yay.
Yay.
I'm here.
We out here. We're out here podcasting. Daddy-daughter situation. So as I was thinking about my podcast and I was thinking about topics and I'm looking at my life and I saw a great opportunity to share some of the best advice ever from an experience that we just had. And if you don't know, my daughter is in the class of 2025. She just graduated recently. I had a wonderful ceremony. She was one of the commencement speakers, did a great job, and she will be attending Vanderbilt University in the fall. That's why I'm out here representing for the Commodores. You heard my voice is a little cracky. I don't like it. I'm not a fan, but I will support my daughter in her life endeavor. So she's going to Vanderbilt, was very successful in her academic pursuits in terms of college admissions. And I have an inside scoop because I was a college counselor. So I had gotten all these skills and all this information from my time working with students, and now it was time for me to see if I knew what I was talking about. And I think we had a pretty fruitful college admissions process experience. And so my thought process was, hey, let's do some podcast episodes with the best advice ever as it relates to college admissions, navigating that whole process. And we're going to do this through the month of June. So each week we'll hopefully have a topic that's different and we won't run over too much. But I think we'll first start off by talking about just before the process, like going into senior year, like what are the things you need to be doing? How soon do you need to start thinking about colleges? All the things, and more so from my daughter's perspective, from mine, I would like to hear, because she just did it. She just went through it. She's fresh off of the experience, and I'm not. I work with a number of students, and my own personal experience has been many moons ago. So I would like to have a discussion and have her share with you, and hopefully you will find some value in these next few episodes. And maybe it's something that we will continue to do if we find things that are relevant to what's going on in our lives. But I think the college admissions process is one that people have a lot of questions about. People are very interested in how we did what we did, how Gabrielle was able to garner, I don't like saying this number because it's fake number, but she's able to get over $1 million of college scholarship offers. Reason I say that, because I used to work at a school and they would ask me for these numbers. And the problem is we would calculate for 4 years. Some of these kids don't keep their scholarship for 4 years. Like some of them don't make a semester. They out of there. That bread gone. And then not only do we do 4 years, we do it for like 5 schools. So I'm going to calculate 4 years worth of money. That's imaginary because you're not going to get all that money. You're only going to get the money at the school that you're going to go to. So you're going to go into one place. So, but she has done very well. Got full rides to 4 of the 8 that she had got accepted to. Applied to 10. Boo to the 2. One we're very confused about, but nevertheless, we'll talk about that process. Kind of like, how did we start? And my daughter had a different mentality. She wanted to have her college pay for itself. She wanted to be able to attend a school with a full ride. That was her goal, separate from what we were interested in. I wanted her to go to the best, have the best opportunities, and to garner some scholarships. But I didn't necessarily think that, oh man, we're not going to have to pay for college. So hopefully that opened up the dialogue, and let's get into it. So Gabrielle, talk to the people about, how did you prepare for the college admissions process?
Okay, I think first I had like a college spreadsheet. So I looked at and researched pretty much all the colleges that I thought I would want to go into. So basically, what I did, because at first I started this at my like freshman year. So you can start researching colleges like your freshman, sophomore year, and that gives you a gist of what you're trying to look for. My freshman year, I was like, I want to do business administration, like basic. So I literally just looked up what are the best schools for business administration and like copied and pasted like the top 100 or whatever. And
Into
just,
a spreadsheet.
And just put them into a spreadsheet. And then I started off with like what were the credits they needed or that I need to be able to get into the school. Where is the school? The population of the school, like the basic kind of things. And then I basically went through and was like, what are the things that are kind of non-negotiable for me? Like, what are the things that no, I wouldn't, like Babson, for example. Like, I didn't just want to go to a place that was just a business school. Like, I want to be surrounded by people who are doing a lot of other things. So that was one thing. I knew that sports was a big thing for me. So anything that was D2, D3, unfortunately, I was just like, no. So I just went through that.
You won't be on ESPN.
I mean, like, I don't know about that. Maybe, sure. Who knows?
Game day?
Game day, like college game day, like just the atmosphere, because I've grown up around that. So, like, if you know things that you've grown up around that you love, that you don't want to compromise, definitely look for that. Like, if you want to be in a bigger city, don't look at the college town colleges. Like, that's just something that I looked into. And as the years went by, I kind of like, because then it went to marketing, and then I was like marketing, and then I finally found a place where I was like, okay, I want to do business analytics or something around that. So I basically just went through and started doing that and looking at the places that I would think I could apply to.
Right. So it's so interesting enough for that. I think, when did we start going to visit colleges? Your 10th grade year, I think?
I think so, yeah. My sophomore spring break.
Spring break, yeah. Where did we go?
We went to Furman.
No,
David.
That was your junior year.
No, junior year was Vanderbilt.
Oh,
sophomore. Sophomore was like, we went to 4 colleges in a row. It was like Furman, Davidson, North Carolina A&T, and Wofford. Yes, those 4. I went in the week.
No, what did you do? Wait a minute. I feel like we did something else. I feel like sophomore year we did something.
Yeah, I think that was my sophomore year. Because like freshman spring break, we actually did like an actual like vacation. I think that was sophomore year. I went to 4 different colleges.
No, I think you confusing something, because one of the things that happened was junior year, the places that she wanted to go to were not available. Like, we had waited to get on these tours, and by the time she was like, oh, I want to go to Virginia, Chapel Hill, wherever these places were, there were no more spots.
Yeah.
So I think that was your junior year we did that.
I thought we went to Vanderbilt my junior year.
But we went in the summer.
No, we went in the spring. That was spring break.
Spring break.
And then because I was trying to visit like North Carolina and Duke my sophomore spring break, but those were taken up. So I visited the summer after my sophomore year, going into junior year.
Right. So the spring break where we should have, that's our sophomore year, that spring break, she should have been going to Duke, Chapel Hill, maybe Virginia, places that, Wake Forest, places like that. But she waited too late. And so what I'm encouraging you to do, if you know you want to attend these places, because everybody else in the country is going to these places too. So the earlier the better. Maybe, let's say if sophomore year is a good time to go because you're just exploring. Like we were just seeing what was available, what was out there. And so because those prime places that she was most interested in were not available, we did end up going to a college tour that I kind of I created, which was small liberal arts schools, Davidson, Furman, Wofford. I think we went to North Carolina A&T. And I believe there was one more, or that might have been it.
I think it was 4.
Okay. And we did the tour and we set that up because those had options available. And for me, she was saying she didn't want to go to a smaller school, but she had never been on a smaller school's campus. She had only been on big campuses. So sometimes you may feel like I don't want to do something, but you have no reference point. And because those other schools were not available, my preference was, okay, I hear you saying you don't want to go to a small place, but we've not visited small places. And so when we visited those small places, it confirmed to her that those schools were not the schools.
Yeah. I think it's good for you to kind of jump out of your comfort zone sometimes and visit different places because you never really know what you may experience or because people think about schools or they don't think about schools and they visit them and then they either fall in love with them or they don't. So definitely explore your options. Don't just visit the places that you think you may want to go, but you can obviously visit those prime places, but you can visit 1 or 2 schools that may be not necessarily what you think is your college type or things like that to really see if that is or not.
Yeah, I would say for the most part, have an open mind, give yourself options. Because what happens is we're a prime example. If we would have been locked in on the school that we thought she would have been going to, it would have been a very disappointing experience. We had thoughts. We had kind of, I had my thoughts. I'm sure Gabrielle had her own individual thoughts, but everything did not turn out the way that we thought it would turn out, but it turned out the way that it was so great. Like it was a great experience. She had a great, I think she had a great courtship with these schools. I think she found schools that were interested in her and she was interested in also. From the college admissions process, I used to like to put the schools into 3 spots. You've heard these categories of like dream schools, likely, and then like slam dunks or schools that you cupcake. I don't like the cupcake term, but safety schools, right? But my only request for Gabrielle or any student is only apply to schools that you'll feel good going to. If you had to go there, you would be excited about going there. And I understand there's different levels of excitement for different schools, but if all else fails and you apply to 6 places and you only get into 1, that should be one that you are excited about. right?
Yeah, I think going into it, I didn't necessarily have like a dream college. I definitely had a dream situation, but I didn't think I had a dream college. Um, but when people asked me, like, I was just like, I don't really know. Like, I don't know where I will end up. But I always knew that the 10 that I applied to would, if I had to go there, then like I would feel comfortable going there and I could see myself there. And I know people like, because I watched like all the college admissions decisions, reactions, all the things that people are like. I felt like I had to apply to so many because I didn't know uh, when I would where I would get into, or like they were scared that they wouldn't get any, so they just apply to like 30. Like sometimes that's not the best thing, especially financially. So I think just making sure that you're kind of narrowing it down. I know people are like, I applied to 20, I applied to 25. Like 10 to 15 is probably the better number. He says 10 or lower.
8 to 10 schools. I don't
But
know why we're applying 15 schools, but that's a great conversation too to be had. We had very candid conversations about finances. We talked about the number of schools that are going to be applied to. So 10, you can apply to 10, but you better choose the 10. And it's not like, oh, I played these 10 and there's another 5. Like, no, there are 10 schools. Like you can apply to up to 10. And she applied to up to 10. I would have preferred 8, but she applied to up to 10. But we had difficult conversations about, we talked about early decisions. Like if you apply to a school that you're very interested in, early decision, the probability of being accepted is increased because you're making a commitment to them. But you also have committed to paying that tuition. And I don't think there were any schools on our list that she would have, like, I think there's a school she would have wanted to apply early decision and gotten into that school, but I don't think she would have wanted to go to that school and have to pay for it.
yeah, that I think that's the main thing. Like people are like, I applied early decision here or here. Like for me, I wanted to keep my options open, and I think that's what a lot of people do if they don't apply early decision, because you never know what scholarships you may get from other schools or even from the like school that you applied ED to. Like you never know how much money you're going to get. And it's never like guaranteed. Like just because you applied early decision doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to get a full ride or things like that. So if you really love that school, if you're really set on this is my school, this is the place I want to be, I've looked at the net price calculator or whatever they give you for financial information, and you're comfortable with that price, like by all means, because that makes your process much shorter. And it helps. Like there were people in my class that they got in early decision and they didn't have to worry about anything. Like, so I mean, if you know that that's the school that you're going to or that you want to go to, um, then by all means you can. That doesn't mean that you're getting in. Because there's a lot of people that apply early decision and they don't necessarily get in, and then they have to go through the whole process. But yeah, ED was never an option for me. I don't think. Like I just kept it open, kept an open mind, like he said, stuff like that.
How did you come up with your 10?
Um, I think just looking at that spreadsheet, I mean, going back to it, because I created obviously that list and then I went through and there was a most likely to apply to, like a limbo section, and then there was a definitely not applying to section. So I basically went through like the top 2 sections and was like, okay, this is checking all the boxes for me. This is giving me good information. Like I like this school. So a lot of them were in that kind of green section. A good amount of some of them were in the kind of yellow, I guess. But I think it was just really seeing myself going to those colleges, doing as much research as possible, looking into the programs that I would be involved in, looking at the majors too. I mean, like a lot of schools you may think are good for you, but if they don't necessarily have your major or what you want to study, then you probably shouldn't do or apply to that school.
I would give a caveat. There may not be the title of the major that you want, but you may still get the education that you're looking for. So, for instance, when I was applying to schools, I was very interested in criminal justice as a major. I wanted to major in criminal justice. And at that time, there were places that didn't have a criminal justice major, but I could have majored in sociology with a criminal justice uh, interest or a criminal justice track. But I just was like, oh, no, criminal justice, nope, not interested. Like, that's not wise. Like, if students were interested in criminal justice, what degrees would they pursue at this university? Because again, I think the school that at Vanderbilt, there's no business major, right?
No, there's a business minor, but I mean, like,
So you're majoring in what?
In economics and math.
But
so
if you just looked at business administration or business, you probably wouldn't apply to Vanderbilt.
Probably not. So yeah, just looking up like different variants of majors. So I looked up like business administration, business, and then it was like marketing or marketing communications or whatever that is. And then when I went into business analytics, I knew that it was either going to be like straight up business analytics, statistics, or economics. And for the rare instance, math. I mean, but a lot of people have math, but it's mostly like applied math, like you're doing math to become a teacher or stuff like that. So yeah, just looking into the programs, looking into the city that you would be in, like just pick, if you could picture yourself there, you can put that at the kind of top of your list to be like, okay, I could definitely see myself going here. I think in narrowing it down, it was really just how thinking about like the location, how far I would be. Like I know Berkeley was on that like 13 college list, and I was like, do I really want to be on the West Coast, or that far away, or that far behind in terms of time? So like thinking about you as a person, what are the things that you value? Where would you be? Things like that. I think that really helped me kind of narrow it down and really kind of visioning myself being at whatever college I applied to.
One of the things I used to always say, and I'll probably say it, college is a match to be made, not a prize to be won. And I would encourage, even though it's difficult, to get out of that. I've worked so hard for this college. Like I get it. Like that is part of the formula that you do want to be rewarded for your sacrifices, for your hard work, for your rigorous schedule, all the things, your high test scores. But at the same time, as much as you want a college to be impressive and make people say, "Ooh, wow," you also want it to be a place that you feel like that's home. Like that's a place where I fit. I see myself here thriving, flourishing. It has all the components that I am interested in, not my mom or my dad or my friends. Like I want to be in an environment like this. And I think that's so important. And I think that's what I ultimately wanted to communicate largely through this process. And what also is very valuable is to eliminate where you don't want to go so you can just not have to waste time. Like some people don't know where they want to, like if you don't know if you want to go to big, small, medium, like what are we doing? Like, so you need to have some type of understanding. Like, do you want to be in a big school? Do you want to be in a small school? Do you want to be at a school that has a thriving athletics, or is athletics not a big deal to you? Or do you want to be in a city, or do you want to be sequestered in the middle of nowhere? Like those, do you want to be in an urban environment where the campus is intertwined with the city? Like, I think those are things that students need to answer separate from a school, like any school. Like like if you can create an ideal college, do that with no name, with no location, like the college that I see myself going to and having a great experience looks like this. Then you have some type of reference point that when we went to these smaller liberal arts schools, and there were some ones that I was like, man, I really hope she likes this place. And she didn't. She had no interest. I was like, dang, that's messed up. But she had a vision of where she wanted to be. And so it's like my pastor talks about counterfeit money, like when they train FBI agents to identify counterfeit money, they spend a bunch of time focusing on the real money. Like they look at the real money, they feel the real money, they study the real money, and then they slip some counterfeit money in. And if you spent so much time with the real, you'll immediately recognize the counterfeit. So I'm saying that to say, if you have an idea or like a vision of what your college experience looks like, when somebody presents another option, you can immediately, like I always, like through the whole process, I kept saying the Citadel, and I was kind of being facetious, but at the same time, I was like, hey, that's a good school. But if you're a student that wants to go to the Citadel, that's an immediate, like, yes, that's something that resonates. My daughter did not want to go to the Citadel, so that was immediately no. So we don't have to say the Naval Academy or West Point. Like, we don't have to look at VMI. Like, we're very clear that's not what she's interested in. So that can be a group of schools that we don't even evaluate. We don't even take a look at that. And so it's as important as it is to figure out what you want. It's also very important to figure out what you don't want.
Yeah. I think going back to don't just choose your college or the colleges that you apply to just for the fact that you can say, oh, I applied to these schools or I got into this school or I'm going to this school, and people give a reaction. Like, I saw that a lot, or not a lot, but I did see that in some of my peers and things like that, like talking to people, especially those who are like high achievers and those who have gotten into all the Ivies or things like that. Like talking to people who got into Vanderbilt with me with the specific scholarship, they were like, do I go to Vanderbilt and get things paid for, or do I go to a place like Yale or Harvard and it has a bigger, like, it does, I mean, that's not really a bigger name change versus the fact that you're probably in the Ivy League and not. You're probably still getting the same kind of level of education and things like that. So it's really just, what is your main goal for it? Is it affordability? Is it the big name? Is it the rigorous education? Is it the community in the big school? You just are there for the, not there for the social life, but it's a good addition to it. Like, what is the specific thing that you're trying to look for? And then when you find that, or when you identify that, then you can go into this college admissions process saying, okay, they gave me the good name, but did they give me the money? Or they gave me money, but is this a place that I could find myself being social and having fun, aside from just being slammed in books or things like that? So really thinking about, like, what are the, like, for me, it was obviously like affordability. Like, I wanted to make sure that I was given the money or the substantial amount to be able to still be a part or still be enrolled in the college without having to pay thousands of dollars for it. And then it came down to, like, obviously the academic rigor. Like, is this not a hard school, but are the academics at a high level? Are people actually getting great information and great insight from the professors who are doing amazing things or getting a lot of experience and things like that? And then the social aspect. So it's just like, I think those three are like the big kind of three things that you can look at to be like, okay, where do I rank these? And then going into the process, what are these colleges giving me after the fact too?
Yeah, and some people are very pragmatic in terms of, hey, you're going to do 2 years at Midlands Tech to knock down the cost. Then you're going to go to Carolina, and then you'll get your bachelor's. But then you'll go to a more prestigious graduate school, because if we're going to spend money, and that's not, your undergraduate's not going to be the last degree you get. So you may want to just say, hey, and this is also for students that have not achieved academically and had the options, which we were in a position where Gabrielle had a number of merit-based opportunities because she had done so well academically. So it depends on where you find yourself, and to be competitive for these merit-based scholarships at your school, wherever you go to school, unless you go to like a really outstanding school, you probably need to be in the top 5%, 10 to 5% of your class. Like probably 5%, depending on if you're at, a public school that isn't known for sending students to all these very impressive and, prestigious universities. I worked at a private school or independent school where 100% of our students were accepted in the college. Like that was the goal, that 100% of the graduates would go to college. So at that school, if you're in the top 20, 25%, you can get into some pretty prestigious schools, depending on the individual student and what they were looking for. So the college process is very much a process where you will get out of it what you put into it. And that may be bleak, that may be encouraging, but it definitely, it really, and again, if the more open-minded you are, because again, we had, like, Tulane is a place where I was interested in for her because I knew I've heard such great things about its education. It's a very well-respected school, but they didn't come with the opportunities scholarship-wise that would have swayed us to say, "Oh yeah, let's go to New Orleans," right? But even though that was not the case, I think it was still valuable to research Tulane and find out what all they had to offer, answer their application process, and see how unique they were as an institution. What were some of the things that you learned about yourself applying to some of these schools?
I think I really learned like what my values were, like as a person, especially going into college, because obviously you go into a completely new environment with new people, and a lot of people will say that you really need to find yourself first as an individual going into a new environment, because you can get swayed in many different ways. So I really knew that there were places that I wanted to, if there was a place that I wanted to go, that it would have good opportunities for me to be able to be not just academically, or I guess a high academic student or somebody who's achieving academically, but also gives me the opportunities to be in a bigger city where I can have more experiences and go different places. Or I know for me, especially with the scholarships that I got, like choosing between the two, it really came to the community and the group that the scholarship gave me. Like, what did I want to find inside of that scholarship program? Are they giving me not only a cohort in my year, but are they giving me other opportunities to learn from people who are in their second year, third year, fourth year? Is there programming behind it? Is there weekly meetings? Is there things that the thing for me was like I really learned that I wanted schedule and that I wanted things that gave me kind of structure going into a new experience. And so that was one thing that I really put into the forefront, especially after getting all of my offers and being like, okay, they're giving me the money, but are they giving me a group? They're giving me a group, but are they giving me actual ways that I can be able to meet and network with not just the people in my scholarship group, but also people in the community or alumni or things like that. So it really just came down to learning as I went and going on these scholarship events and learning, going on the calls and being able to talk to other people who were just like me, my peers who were getting these scholarships too. Like, what were the things that we really enjoyed about a specific college, and can that be replicated anywhere else?
All right, so we're going to wrap this part up, but I wanted to quickly ask you about teacher recommendations and essays. Like, when did you start asking for recommendations, and what was your strategy around essays?
Yeah, so if you can ask because usually there's like for the Common App or Coalition or whatever you may be applying with, there's usually that 2 or 3 recommendation requirement. or limit, I asked for 2 recommendations at first, and I asked my 2 teachers right before summer of my junior year. So like May junior year, I asked them so I could already be on their list. And when I came back to school my senior year, it was already done because they did it over the summer and they had me on their list. So ask as soon as possible. You don't want to go into August because once it doesn't seem like it will go by as fast, but once you get into August, September, October, like that's when a lot of early decision or early action and early decision deadlines are, and you don't want to be scrambling. And then a lot of teachers have things to do now, like they're starting school, they're grading, they're doing all these things teacher wise, and obviously that's their job. So you want to make sure that you're asking as early as possible. If you didn't have the opportunity to do so, then you can definitely ask like the first week of school, but make sure that you're also asking like teachers that you have an established relationship with, that hopefully you've maybe even had them for more than a year. I know for mine, I had mine for the teachers that I asked for 3 years out of the 4, which is definitely kind of an abnormal situation in terms of high school. But I found those teachers to have good relationships with me, so those were very valuable. And then as you go, there will be different, like your counselor recommendation, you're going to have to ask for that. But for my instance, my counselor started like August of senior year. There will be the other counselor and kind of, what is it, like community members, like people outside of school. So you can ask that if you're volunteering over the summer and that's somebody that you want to be able, or your supervisor or somebody who you want to write a recommendation for you, you can ask during that summer. But as you'll do different applications, you'll get different recommendation kind of requests, and make sure you ask beforehand, probably a week or 2 in advance. If you're really loved by those people, they will give them to you the day of or the day before, which I had to do sometimes. But definitely be proactive about those. In terms of essays, I really started the summer before my senior year, just writing down ideas of what I would like to write. There was definitely a process for mine because I started with different ideas, and I basically had 3 ideas, and I wrote or started an essay for each of those 3 ideas and basically just read through them. And honestly, for me, none of those 3 really felt the way that, or felt right. Like I just thought that they would be good, but I didn't feel as comfortable as I could have been with what I wrote. With the summer that I had, I used that time to write them. But as soon as I got back into school, I got in contact with my English teacher for my senior year, and then also other English teachers that I had over the years and had them read it. So use your English teachers for your essays. That's definitely a key thing that you can do over your senior year, not just for your Common App essay or whatever application system you're applying to, but also your supplementals and things like that too. And we kind of just went through it one day and they were like, this doesn't really sound like you. So find something that sounds like you. Just honestly, you can just brainstorm, write down. I had a whole application document where I had all my essays, all my supplementals, everything just there. And I also wrote down like, what are things that are not mentioned in my application? So what are the things so obviously you have your extracurricular tab, you have the awards tab and all the things like the recommendations. So I wrote down what are things that people may not know about me that are not on my application, so I can write them down in either my Common App essay or in my supplemental, so that there can be a more well-rounded, or that I can seem as though I'm a more well-rounded student. So I would say start the summer before your senior year with your essays, talking about it, writing it down, however you have whatever writing process you may have. Just really start with that, and no pressure if you don't start, or if you're not finished with it, or if you're not finished with it by your senior year, or by your senior year start. But definitely know that you probably want to have it done by like September, so you can really focus on other applications and all the things that come with that as well.
What about test scores?
Have a goal for yourself, and honestly look at the median scores for the schools that you're applying to. Obviously, they tell you people get accepted with lower test scores, or with higher test scores. So you don't necessarily have to meet that mark, especially for the higher and more selective schools. But I think for me, it was choosing one test and sticking with it. I never took the ACT. I only took the SAT. And I think the first time I took it was my junior spring, which was like the time where every junior in my school takes it, or in my district takes it. So that was basically a benchmark for me to say, oh, okay. For me, I had a goal of getting a 1400. It could be different for everybody else. Knowing your test taking abilities and knowing how strong you are as a test taker is big as well. I do well on tests, but I'm not the best test taker. So I knew that I obviously could have a goal to be able to get a 1500 or higher, but I knew that I wanted to make sure that I at least had 1400, especially for the scholarships that I have available to me statewide, as well with the Palmetto Fellows and the lottery funded scholarships and things like that. To be able to get the highest scholarship, you would get that 1400, and that would basically just, for the most part, and you being in the top 5% and all the things, like look into your state funded scholarships and look and see if there is a state or there's a test requirement for that, and then just go from there. But don't compare your test scores. Don't think that yours is any lower than it needs to be, or just feel comfortable doing it. So I took it 2 times afterwards, to be able to get at least the highest score that I would think. I wanted to make sure that I at least got, I think my last one was a 1420 super score. I wanted to at least get 700 on both the reading and the math. So I had to take it my second time taking it. I got like a 720 on reading and a 680 on math. And I was like, I'm going into economic statistics. Like, I can't go in with a lower reading or lower math score, or at least one that's lower than a 700. So I really just took I really just took it the third time to get a higher math score. So that may be the strategy that you have too. Like, you take it again, you study. I took it in October of my senior year, so I really just used the summer and those beginning school months to really focus on SAT prep. So the summer, obviously relax, have fun, but it's definitely a time for you to get ahead of a lot of things, like the scholarship essays, knowing what scholarships you want to apply to, knowing the dates which your college is open, things like that, like knowing all the deadlines, and then obviously studying for tests. That's going to be a main thing. So find your test. If you take both, then that's good. I think more schools are moving more now into requiring test scores again. So do keep that in mind. If you are looking into a school that requires test scores and you may not feel as though your test score may be enough, then that may be something to consider in terms of applying or not. But if your resume is highly qualified, if your grades are highly qualified, sometimes test scores don't really play too much of a factor. It could definitely play a factor, but I don't think it's definitely. I think it's more so like your extracurriculars and the things that you do in and out of school that are really valuable to college admissions as well.
Yeah, you had a SAT tutor coach thing that was helpful.
Yeah, it definitely was. So if you have the availability to do that, but obviously you can go to places like Khan Academy, or there's another. I think it's like, I don't remember the name of it, but there's other websites that you can look into that my friends use that were really helpful to them. So yeah, just looking into places that could give you the best, I guess, prep suitable to your needs. And I think that's something that could help you moving forward in terms of testing and getting a better test score.
All right. Well, that's part one, folks, of the best advice ever. This is kind of pre-application process. This is kind of the things to think about as you go into. The next one we'll talk about how do you get those applications done and submitted, and what all of the factors that are in line with making you the best candidate that you can possibly be for these various colleges. Hopefully, you've enjoyed this episode. We want to thank Gabrielle for her time. We'll be back next week, same bat channel, same bat place. You could have been anywhere in the world, but you're here with us, and we appreciate it. So like, subscribe, share this podcast. Let people know that we out here. I'm on social media at Bowtie Comedy, on all the things, on all the places, except for some of the places, but majority of the places. I'm out there. Hey man, thank y'all so much for tuning in. See you next week. Peace.